I've started the recording of the meeting. So we like to start with a small video and request everyone to go through it. So this was a small, very quick view of the vision of our organization. And I like to now hand it over to Wade to take us through the presentation in detail. Over to you, Wade.
Thanks, Pranay. Namaskar to all the shareholders and people who are believing in us. Of course, just repeating what Pranay said, Jagdeep is traveling today mainly for the project that we have undertaken. And he's in China meeting various suppliers, and he tried hard to join this meeting, but it's not being possible because of the time difference and the flights that he has. So apologies for that, but we will take it up. Nitika is here, our CFO, and she will take up the bit of business performance as well. So, of course, as you all know, we start with a dream. Pranay. And the dream, but not only is it a dream, it is also an unprecedented opportunity. And the unprecedented opportunity is to make significant gains while contributing towards a positive ecological impact. We are, of course, internally driven by the idea of how we are going to leave the planet cleaner. And that takes us to a huge opportunity in the food packaging market. As you can see, the market is getting to be about 600 billion. So that's the kind of possibility that exists. A lot of that needs to be converted to products which are more sustainable, which are more earth-friendly. And that is why we have focused on 3 products, which Pranay will show. So these are the 3 areas we are focusing on. The food packaging market is driven by a lot of new developments that we are doing in terms of flexible packaging. My colleague, Dr. Subramanian, will talk a little more about the kind of launches that are happening now, and this is under commercialization now. The food carry market is another market which we've been focused on in terms of our paper that goes mainly to wrapping and carry. But we've also evolved another IP-based millets, which again, Dr. Subramanian will throw light on. And of course, you have all been aware of the food service area, which we are looking at. And Satish is driving that strongly. Performance is changing over the time which we've been talking to you, and you'll see significant difference in terms of performance as we are going quarter on quarter. We are very, very buoyant and positive about this segment, and we are launching numerous products in the segment and also expanding capacity. Next, Pranay. So this is our broad roadmap. We are in the middle of expanding our Ayodhya site. We are more or less working on the financial tie-up, and that is where the focus is right now. And of course, we've started placing orders. Jagdeep is already out and about in order to analyze the machineries. And again, Nitika will throw a little more light on the project and the progress there. I am personally very focused on our international expansion, and I will also throw a little more insight into the progress that has been made in the last quarter in these areas. And of course, then we go ahead and build our site 3, hopefully in the next 4 to 5 years. So if you look at us as a company, we are continuously looking to achieve new benchmarks. We have been the first listed B Corp in Asia. We do operate at decent profit margins. They're considered to be one of the highest in the industry. We have been proudly rated as one of the greatest places to work in the country. We have been externally certified as one of the lowest cost producers. We have established one of the largest facilities for innovations in compostable packaging, and we are doing various global tie-ups. Again, some of it, Dr. Subramanian will make you privy to that information. And we are also considered to be one of the greenest producers in the world today, in a study that was done for about 189 global suppliers. So this is my update and my last slide, which is basically what is happening on the international side. And I'm happy to have questions later on this. We have finalized our funding advisor as we had promised in the last quarter. The work has been initiated. In fact, they've spent a lot of time in the Indian plant. And now we are in the middle of finalizing the pitch deck, trying to structure the evaluations, etc. And that should be done within this quarter. The next is land shortlisting. And again, we've gone down to almost to the finalizing stage of the land. As of yesterday, in fact, we've identified one of the most suitable lands, and we are definitely planning to close that within this quarter as well. So by the time we meet next quarter, your company should be a landowner in Guatemala, where the factory is going to be. The product offtake agreements have begun. We have numerous meetings that are happening. They have been happening regularly, and even in the next week, we are planning to finalize some of these agreements. So by the time we meet in the next quarter, we are at least hopeful that at least most of the product that is going to be produced internationally is going to have off-takers. The other explorations are ongoing in terms of even the engineering and the right technology. We are continuing to explore, and again, the team is out and about. We have, of course, some of you met our CEO for the Americas, Eduardo Estrada. We are very, very fortunate to have him on board, and he's driving it and looking at numerous angles, including basic engineering, which has also been initiated, the order for basic engineering. Of course, we need another company in Guatemala. This will be a subsidiary of the Pakka Inc. USA, which is the subsidiary of Pakka Limited, which is the company we are talking about now. So in a way, Pakka Guatemala also gets consolidated into Pakka India in the end. Next, Pranay. So I hand over to Nitika now to take us through the financial performance.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for all your trust and support always. It is a pleasure to place before you another outstanding performing quarter. Continuing with our ever-learning and ever-evolving growth story, we have been able to make a mark with our revenues and bottom line both. Starting with the revenues, we see a drop quarter-on-quarter basis with a 4% drop, which basically was mainly driven by volumes. We could still sustain the pressures on the NSR. In terms of the bottom line, next slide, Pranay, please. We've been able to maintain our EBITDA at a very healthy level, and that's primarily driven by the product mix of the finished product that we have been using, which allowed us efficiencies in our raw materials. And also, we benefited from a drop in the prices of the chemicals, which drove this healthy EBITDA. So despite a 4% drop in the top line, we could still maintain our profits at a very healthy level. Another thing that benefited us was our ability to curtail on the heavier impact of power and fuel cost, which was basically because we could use an alternate fuel instead of only using paddy husk. So I think those have been the driving factors of our performance for this quarter. Next slide, please, Pranay. In terms of the highlights on Project Jagriti, I've maintained the structure in the same way as it was in the last presentation. The green color section basically displays the progress that has been made in each of these sections. So we've had discussions and purchase orders, finalization, etc. done for these three categories, where we've gone ahead primarily with the shoe press for this upgrade in paper machine. And we've also gone ahead with our pulp mill certain sections and the ETP project. That's the progress made in these three sections. A click, please, Pranay. Yeah, these are, this is the WIP, and this is where we will be heading for in the next few months. Handing over to you, Satish.
Thank you, Nitika. Good evening, everybody. We, as Ved mentioned earlier, we are marching along pretty well, I would say. So the quarterly revenue for the first quarter is certainly up by a very small amount over the last quarter. However, if you compare the same period last year, we are up by about 36%. The same is reflected in our EBITDA as well. If you look at just the EBITDA terms, we are at 1.72 crores for the quarter, which is 3x than that of the fourth quarter, and about 10% than that of that 10% over the last quarter. I mean, same quarter previous year. But what matters the most is the bottom line. This is something that we have been watching very, very closely. From an EBITDA, from a PBT negative of 2.98 crores in fourth quarter of the last financial year, we are at about negative 0.28, mere 28 lakh. This is, again, in absolute terms, if you look at it, this is very close to coming to break even. And we do expect to go up from here. Things are looking reasonably positive from here on. And as we have been discussing, we have been making continuous progress with outsourcing operations. We have added one additional site that is in operations as we speak, and there are a lot more in the works. Hopefully, I can give you much better updates next quarter on the other 3-4 sites that we are working on now. And our innovation continues. More than innovation, this is a necessity of the hour, where we are going out and expanding our basket. The first step is to add new products, especially outside of Bagas as well, so that we create a complete basket of offerings. As a first step, we have designed our own cutlery, and that is launched in the last quarter. And we are also launching again a very innovative retail product called Spoon Caddy that is also in the market now. So these are the major updates with compostables. I'm going to hand over to Ramji to give an update on innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. Good evening on the innovation updates. The first thing is on the rigids, which you're seeing here. The key that we are delivering on the compostable rigids is on the delivery containers. We are working in the piloting now. We have completed the initial recipe is ready, and we are working to scale it up for non-soggy delivery containers without any significant cost addition in the process. The second one is we are also looking into the lidding concept, new lidding concepts, which will enable us to go into the market with a new model of delivery containers, which will be coming out soon. The second one that we are working on the rigid side is on the cutlery. We have got 3 home compostable and highly heat resistant recipes, which are patented. And already we have piloted it, and we are looking now into scaling it up, these recipes. And we'll be coming up with the products in this in the cutleries pretty soon. On the compostable packaging side, which is our key focus area, in terms of the earlier presentation by Ved, as you have seen, we have now a patented compostable structure, of which 5 prototypes are ready. And for these prototypes, we have also had the shelf life studies. We have completed the shelf life studies successfully for 9 months. And with this, we are looking at first pre-commercial structure, for which the evaluation is in progress with this pre-commercial structure. As was mentioned earlier, we are also looking at quotas and in-house conversion of the structures, and then making it the product as cost efficient and as a novel, recycle, repurposable and compostable packaging. We are first looking at into chocolates, confectionaries, which will be expanding the scope as we move forward. So that's the innovation update from my side. Thank you.
This is a carry on from the last call. I'll take it up. So release of pledge shares, this is still not complete, but a significant progress made. We've had the board approval in terms of security trustee agreement being signed for SBI security trustee. And we have PNB, which is at present the custodian of all our documents, releasing their legal audit clearance, hopefully within this week. And then we shift all our documents to SBI, and then the share pledge would be released. And we are hoping to complete this within this quarter for sure. Back to you, Pranay.
So thank you, everyone. We'll proceed to the question answer round now, and I'll just lay out the ground rules. So please restrict your questions to a maximum of 2, so that everyone can get chance to ask questions. And please point out who the question is directed towards. You can press the hand raise button on the reactions for the Zoom button, the Zoom meeting, and we'll take it as we go along in the order. You can also post your questions on the chat, which can be answered either during the call or on the chat itself. So I'll go one by one.
Pranay?
Yes.
Pranay, just so that you know, I have a hard stop at 6, so we'll try and restrict it to about 40 minutes as well.
Sure, definitely. Thank you, Ved. Mr. Jagmohan, you can unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. Sorry, Mr. Jagmohan, your voice is not clear. Maybe you can type your question in the chat. That will be helpful. Your voice is not clear. I'll move on to Captain Vishal.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Yes, please go ahead.
My question, first question, in fact, both the questions are for Mr. Ved. I had attended the analyst investor meet prior the NSE listing, and this was held at Mumbai. So a lot was spoken about, entering into a possible contract with Unilever and Nestle. So I would like to know, what are the estimated volumes if, we are entering into a contract with them, and what exactly would it add to our revenues? Because if I remember, Mr. Ved had spoken about roughly 18,000 metric ton requirement for packaging by Unilever alone. So this is huge. So can you highlight on that? Once he answers it, then I'll ask my next question.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, we are closely working with those two entities, more, of course, with the first one that you mentioned. The project is on. It is for trying to work on the shampoo sachets that they make in India. And that's an ongoing project. The team has been developing. We are more or less, again, like Ramji mentioned, it's at the pre-commercialization stage, which basically means that the pilot trials have happened, and now we need to do some commercialized trials in order to check if we can fully commercialize. So it is about 16,000 tons. I'm not going to do quick maths, but you'll probably be faster than me, Vishal. So it'll be at about $3,000 a ton. And the 16,000 tons is the requirement for that product in India. So of course, that can significantly change, but the product is similar to what Ramji is focusing on in terms of chocolate packaging. It's a little more sophisticated than that, but like similar structure. So we are definitely, as an organization, we focus on food packaging. But yes, so that's a big bet, and Unilever has been a great partner for that development.
All right, thank you so much. And I'll ask my second question now. So I was going through your presentation, and you've highlighted the revenues and the PAT you're looking at for roughly 2030. But not going so far, I just would like to know what is the revenue growth and PAT we are looking at, say, by the end of 2025, because our revenues have been steady over the last 2 quarters at roughly around 100 to 110 CR for a quarter. So how do we plan to increase this?
So I don't think there'll be a significant change by 2025, because as we said, the significant changes are coming by the jumps that we are taking. So we'll of course continue to work on value addition, going into newer markets. Satish was talking about different outsourcing models, which are asset-light models that we are continuing to work on. But the significant jumps will come from the execution of the India project, which should be on stream by the 26, 27. And that's why we mentioned 2026 as a significant jump. It is about 920 crores is what I remember is what we are focusing on from, say, 500 crores that we'll end up in the current year. That will be a jump. And of course, then the consolidation will happen for Guatemala by around 2027, 28 is when I would project that. And then, of course, the idea is to go for another project by 2030. And that will take us to another level altogether. So these jumps, because we are ultimately a capital intensive industry, so the big jumps happen then. But that said, there will be growth happening. Satish and his team has been working significantly on increasing the product basket, providing end-to-end solutions to the customer. As those start happening, there will be revenue increase. But the significant jumps will be 2026, 27, 2027, 28, and then 2030, 31-ish kind of framework is what we are looking at.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain Vishal. Jagmohan, Mr. Jagmohan, you can try once again if your audio is clear. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. If anyone has a question, please unmute and ask. Okay, Mr. Harshad, you can unmute yourself and ask the next question.
Thank you. Is my voice audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question in the Anchak side. Are we in talks with Zomato, Swiggy for delivery containers we mentioned in the last con calls? This is my first question.
Hi, Harshad. This is Satish. Thank you for the question. We are in talks. However, the first thing that we are doing today is to stabilize the.
Sorry, Satish went off. Satish, you're back. Go ahead.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Satish, if
Harshad.
you can repeat, please. Yes.
Okay, sorry. I was saying, yes, the talks with Zomato is definitely on. However, before we go really deep into this relationship, what we are trying to do is to ensure that our supply side is intact. What has happened in the market over the last 6 months is our delivery containers have been very well accepted by our customers, the existing customers. And we are getting into situations where the demand from our existing channels have tremendously increased. So we are addressing that with our outsourcing operations. Once the supply situation is adequate, as in once we have the capacity to supply adequately to the delivery companies, we will go a little deeper into those talks. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. And on the second question on the Chuck side, we have seen that we have clients like Haldiram's, Chai Point. So have we added some new QSRs in this quarter?
Absolutely. We have added Wow Momo as a customer now. That's actually a big one. And a lot of regional players, if you will, India Sweet House in Bangalore, Kurimal Kulfi in Delhi, but more importantly, our relationship with PVR as a national chain, that is increasing a lot more deeply than where we started. So there are two aspects that we are covering. One is increasing the wallet size or wallet share of the existing customer, and then also acquiring new customers.
Okay, thank you. And the question on paper front, packaging front, we
Sorry,
see
Harshad, your voice is not clear.
that we are packaging food.
Sorry to interrupt, Harshad, your voice is not clear.
Is my voice audible now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, I'll start. We've been focusing on packaging material, like we mentioned in the video as well, that we are focusing on packaging of chocolates and eatable items. So usually, would the paper sustain for that duration, like the plastic does? But will that paper sustain?
Pranay, can I just step in? I think
Yes,
I've
please.
understood I've understood the direction and not the question. So I hope you can hear me, Harshad, even if you can't. So the basic idea is not to imitate plastic. That's never been our goal. We are always trying to create better biomaterials. But that said, ultimately there's a performance that needs to be achieved. And as Ramji mentioned in his talk, that we've already gone to a shelf life of 9 months. There is a certain amount of barrier that is needed for moisture and air. We have to match that, and that's extremely difficult when it comes to natural substances. So there are numerous substrates that the innovation team works with, and we are very, very proud to say that we are looking at, Ramji mentioned, 5 different prototypes of approaching this. So different products are being innovated, evolved, and applied. So I hope that answers you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Harshad, for your question. Mr. Jeet Kala, you can go ahead with your question.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have a question on flexible packaging. So I think, Ved sir, you said the NSRs for this flexible packaging for, say, shampoo is close to 3,000 rupees a ton, $3,000 a ton, right? So if I multiply that to 16,000 tons, it's coming.
Yeah, okay. That's the lower end of the spectrum.
Because that's coming to close to some 400 crores of total sales that the company can achieve. And because we do not have in-house capacities for now to really get the production going on, how do we really take the opportunity to commercialize? Because it involves 2 steps. One is you require the base paper, and then further you need to add barrier coating and other properties to that base paper. So would you outsource both these to someone on contract with an NDA signed? So how does it really work? I mean, because the capacities are not going to come up for the next 2 years. So how much of this 400 crore or whatever number that the flexible packaging can give us can come to the company for the next 2 years?
We trust you to ask a smart question always. It's actually divided in 3 phases. The first phase is, you're right, absolutely, where we have gotten our formulations. We've gotten NDAs with partners. There are 2 partners that we are working with. We have a tie-up with one of the European mills actually that is supplying the paper to us, and we are doing the pre-commercial trials and then the commercial trials through that. Jagdeep is running around as we speak to finalize a quota very, very quickly. So hopefully in the next week, he's actually going to finalize the quota, even if we haven't finalized the other things. So that's phase 2. We are hoping within the next 6 to 8 months, we'll bring the coating in-house, where we will start coating the material so that our formulations remain very closed. And that's, Ramji will not be happy with us if those go out, because he and his team are really burning midnight oil to actually come out with these formulations. And that's something that we are honestly worried about. So we don't want to take those formulations outside the organization. And the third phase you've clearly identified is to actually switch to our own paper as well. But that said, I know that Ramji and the team are also trying to collapse that part by seeing if certain papers can be developed within the organization even now. So depending on the technology, and I know his scientists keep challenging me on that to say that no, we can do it with our own papers. So let's hope that they are right and I'm wrong. So they have been working on it. So I would say divide it into 3 phases to simplify it: outsource, halfway, and then full in the next 2 years.
Understood. Okay, that helps. And so my second question is regarding these 5 prototypes that we are talking about. So what I understand, I think one of the prototype is, say, a wrapping of chocolates, which we've given to Brownie Bear for a pilot project right now. And second prototype, say, for example, is for shampoo, which we are doing it with HUL, and another 3 prototypes. So how does the process of patent really work? I mean, so are we just registering ourselves in India or in other countries, and what is the cost of registrations?
So prototyping is different from what you are thinking, but I'll let Ramji take it deeper. Please go ahead.
On the patenting perspective, it works in such a way that there are 2 or rather 3 broader type of patent. One is totally on new material, second one on the process, and the third one on the products. So the different types of patenting possible. And second one, in terms of the timelines, we are looking at first filing within India, and then there will be a time frame of around 18 months for the government or the patenting organization to review the patent, and then we have to add further data to it, so that we have the first provisional patent, and then the patent is granted in India. And then after 18 months of grant, after it is granted in India, then we take it up for the countries that we are looking at globally. So it's a step-by-step process in terms of the process of patenting and the timelines. And in terms of costing, it's internal, and therefore we are doing together with collaborating internally, and we are doing it at cost effectively as we can.
Okay, so what I understand is right now we've done the patenting or the registrations of the processes. Is that understanding correct?
We have done for the structures, yeah. Structures of
product, not process. So process patent is different. This is for product patents, and I think the provisional patents are already in place. I think Ramji has one already been granted as well.
It is one. No, it is under review. It is filed, and the review is in progress. Okay. So
and on the prototyping, Ramji, do you want to throw light, or Ramji, on the prototyping, do you want to give clarification, or would you like me to carry on? It's better if you do it. prototyping. Jeet's understanding of prototyping.
From the prototyping perspective, it is like this, that we work, for the first thing is we work product backwards. So we take first as a product, and then we see what are the different types of structures that can be made. And we are looking at multiple types of structures. And we are looking at multiple types of structures at the lab. Then we go and look at piloting in terms of that is required in terms of converting, and then the performance in terms of the shelf life. And finally, we select prototypes which are suitable for the at scale operations.
Let me further add to that for more commercial language than Ramji's scientific clarification, which is of course more exacting. But what basically it means is that it's not, the prototypes are not like chocolate shampoo. That's not the way the prototypes work. It's to do with the combination of products that we are doing. It could be a different biomaterial that we are using. It could be a different kind of grade that we are using in terms of the cellulosic material or paper. So it could be a different primer that we are using, which is another layer that we add. So it's to do with the structure of the product that will be considered a prototype. It could be what you are saying, that applied to shampoo, applied to chocolate, but it could be applied to multiple messages as well. So that's how prototyping works. It's a different structure. 5 different structures have been created and under sort of pre-commercialization.
Understood. And can I ask one more question, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah. For this Guatemala offtakes, so how does it really work? So I think a lot of customers who are interested in the products, they do visit our India site. They have a look at what we are existingly doing with respect to paper bags and probably what we have to offer them in the flexible packaging. And it's exactly mirroring of what we are going to do in Ayodhya is what we are going to do at Guatemala. So that really helps you to create a base for funding. I mean, what is the exact need for getting our offtakes done right away?
Yeah, it's fundamentally, you've pointed it right. It's fundamentally for the comfort of equity investors. Bankers have not asked for us for that, and bankers have already committed that they are interested in the project. The equity investors more want risk mitigation. The way the way the offtake works is in fundamentally about 4 phases. The first phase is interest. There's an expression of interest when we show a sample. Then there is a trial with samples. So we'll provide certain samples, which is what we've done with various players right now. They will test their, say, chocolate, cereal, whatever, and do a initial, and it will be subjected to a drop test. It will be subjected to certain shelf life. It will be subjected to moisture, air, etc., etc. There are different simulations that take place. Once that gets passed, then you go for a trial. Typically, Ramji and the team will create some reels, which can run, say, thousands of samples for the customer. And once that gets through, then they will give an offtake, which will be supplies once we have the commercial taking place. So those are the 4 sort of steps. So we are just now at step 3. Now we are starting the trials with certain customers, where we are starting to create reels of products that will be shipped out to them for flexible packaging. For molded fiber, we already have the products. Right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sir, I have more questions. I'll come back in the video. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sujay Das, you can ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. My question is to Mr. Satish ji. Could you please let us know what is the capacity utilization of Chuck right now, and how do you see that in the last quarter of this financial year?
Thank you for the question. From an installed capacity of about 16 tons per day, we are getting close to about 8 tons per day now. So the capacity has been, again, the capacity is a very different number, right? It depends on what product you're manufacturing. The 16 tons per day is based on 9-inch round plates, right? Whereas our products are a lot different. However, if you are using that as a reference number, from about 170 tons per month, we are at about 210 tons per month with the existing machinery, right? So there is a good 40 tons or 20 to 25% increase that you have seen over the last quarter. And that is actually showing up in the numbers as well.
And what is your projections in the last quarter of this year, in the fourth quarter?
When you say positions?
In the last quarter of this financial year, how much increase can you see from here? The production capacity will increase in the last quarter of, say, 6 months from now, where you see performing. Yeah.
Look, on with the existing machinery, we again, this is just the Ayodhya plant we are talking about. On the existing machinery, I would expect another to eke out another 5%. There are plenty of things that we are doing to maximize. However, we are also adding 2 new machines. So overall, from the 210 tons per month, we should be closing in about 235 to 240 tons per month.
And that means how much will be the top line?
See, the top line is going to be dependent on multiple factors. So one factor
figure,
we are looking at, again, if you can allow me another 5 seconds, I just want to explain. There's 240 tons, 235 to 40 tons from Ayodhya. Plus, we're also looking at outsourcing, right? The goal for the next 6 months is to get to about 400 tons per month, which should put us in the range of anywhere from 8.5 to 10 crores per month in the next 6 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sujay. Mr. Rahul, you can go ahead.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pranay. My question is again also a little short term. So I see in the current quarter, quarter-on-quarter revenue growth was not a lot, but our profit grew a lot because of product mix and lower cost of our raw materials. So in the next coming 2 quarters, how are we? So are we in line to continue the same performance of lower raw material cost and the product mix? So how do the next 2-3 quarters look in terms of maintaining our profit ratio?
I'll take this up. Okay. Thank you for the question. I think if you look at our performances from the last 4-5 quarters, we've been able to maintain our EBITDA levels almost consistently. And it's a continuous endeavor to do the same. Even if you look at the present quarter, it wasn't a very easy quarter to sail by. And I'm hopeful that we will be able to maintain this kind of percentages in the coming quarters as well, because we are gearing up for that proactively and in advance. We don't foresee anything specifically negative happening that should disable our performance in terms of the bottom line. I hope that answers.
Yes, thank you, Nitika.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Harshad.
Thank you for the opportunity again. I just want to ask, what are our current realizations in paper segment per ton?
Nitika, you may have to do a quick division for Harshad.
I'm not sure if I want to get into that kind of specifics for now.
Harshad, it's a pretty straightforward calculation.
Yeah.
Divide the product the quantum by the top line. So
Okay,
like some of us.
I was asking,
it's pretty
how
straightforward.
much EBITDA do we generate per ton in paper segment? Not like EBITDA.
त्यांचं बघतोय quarterचा किती.
Okay, allow me.
Paper segment is typically over 25%. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is 25%, as I said. So it's primarily the sales are driven by paper for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Deep, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Couple of more questions. So when you're dealing with so many customers for flexible packaging, so what is the sense that you're getting? I mean, so the tableware unit is all about, of course, it offers a lot of value, but at the same time, it's a commodity market. But for flexible packaging, do you think we'll be able to command more margins? It's not going to be a pain problem to be very cost competitive. So from the purchaser angle, what kind of sense you're getting? I mean, are they really worried about costs going down, or they would be happy to, take whatever innovations that we come out through?
So from my perspective, I wish we were only in the commodity market, because that's how we make big change. Because if you want to deal in volumes, that is what is going to happen, and yet maintain our profitability by our own competence. That said, it's a very complex question, because it's a very novel new product. The customers want to take, like they want to make sure that each step that they take is taken with a lot of care. We do have a lot of startups that want to take much quicker kind of steps, but we are a little more circumspect then, because we want to make sure that they succeed. So, but we are in the forefront in terms of the innovation here globally. I only see the alternate as being something that has been created as recyclable, but I don't think globally there is anybody really providing a flexible pack to the kind of barriers that we are providing, which is compostable. It's not a cheap product for now. The overall costing actually is over at the sort of pilot scale. It's over $4,500, and of course, like you quickly realize that you said $3,000, and that's the target for us. We want to get to it quickly. But that said, the structures are very complex that we are working with. We are working with various biomaterials that are extremely complex, because we have to get the right barriers in place, and the process is also relatively complex. We've tried, dropped. This has been an ongoing story for 10 years. We've failed so many times in this area. So now we are seeing success. There are, of course, the first off-takers who are a little more keen on sustainability, but typically they're not the high volume ones. So if somebody mentioned Unilever, we've been working with them for over a year and a half now. So, and we are still at the pre-commercializing. So it takes time, and that's the beauty of it when you're trying to make a revolution. So you don't want to jump into something which is, and that's why we are doing it the way we are doing it, that by the time we get into large scale commercial production, we can actually be sure about the customer performance.
Right. So and what I understand is our company is very similar to any innovator company, be it a pharma company or a chemical company who's actually innovating something. So once you get your product right, then for the demand, the sky is open, right? So for example, if the grade of paper which can be used for packaging of shampoo is approved by a Nestle, then I don't think it is a very big task to find 10 Nestles then, right? So if you can correct me if my thinking is wrong somewhere. I mean, once you get the product, I mean, how big the runway can be, even for one prototype being accepted by the customers.
You're absolutely right. So if you look at it, it is like we presented as well. Just food packaging, which the majority is flexible packaging, is 600 billion in terms of size. And at least in yours and my lifetimes, at least we would like to see no material being out there which is not compostable, for the sake of our children and their children and our beautiful country. So at least we would like to ensure that as an organization, that's the singular thing that drives us. Dr. Subramanian has left his cushy life in Finland and is struggling in the Bangalore traffic, just with this clear, singular kind of dream and vision to make a difference. And you're totally right. As soon as you get the first success, whether it's in chocolates, whether it's in the FMCG, shampoo, or another segment, the size of the market is unprecedented. We will not be able to do it alone. We will have to find ways to even share the IP and the patent and see how we can enable more people to come in, just so that we can ensure that the change that we are looking to happens.
Okay, that helps. Thank you. And so, what is the capex that is going to be done at Ayodhya in this current year? And there's a breakup of
total capex for Project Jagrati is last board meeting we have finalized 575 CR. So that seems to be the figure that Jagdeep has sort of frozen. And we are, as per our board mandate, we may have to make sure that it happens within that number, because we moved up and down a lot in this capex. And the majority of it, of course, goes into flexible packaging. There's a new paper machine about 200 crores and coaters about 70-80 crores. So out of the total, at least half is going into flexible packaging.
So how much of that will happen in FY24 is what I wanted to know.
No, all the orders will be placed by 2023-24, and then by the time we come on stream, we are hoping middle of 2025, and that's an optimistic hope.
Okay, so no guidance on the capex amount as such. I mean, some 50 crores or 100 crores in FY24 for this project.
Within the year, I think, Nitika, we are looking at 150, right? Within this year.
Yes. Certainly.
150. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
But if you're thinking about the cost of capital, the interest is normally built into the project. In case that is something that you're indicating. Cost like during capital interest during construction period is normally part of the 575 when we look at that.
Understood. Got it.
So there's no loading onto the organization's P&L during the project execution.
Understood. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone with the name of Samsung SM, you can go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I could not do. Sir, what was the difference in the costing between the currently used flexible packaging and our flexible packaging per unit cost?
So it's very early to actually clearly specify that. At the lab, it's very different. And when you do it at scale, it's very different. So currently, like I mentioned, we are at about $4,500 to $5,000 a ton. The current polymer-based substrates with metallization would be between $3,500. Our effort is to go down to the same kind of mark. But typically what we've seen is that in any organization that is willing to shift, 20% is the ballpark. So if we are able to cut it at between, say, about $4,000, we should be able to have a very smooth sell, depending on the performance. Because the first prerogative of any packaging is to make sure what is inside is protected. So performance, if the performance is perfect, I personally don't see any challenges at selling it about $4,000.
So if another question, if the economies of scale do get in, so we would be able at a future date to sell it around $3,000 per ton?
That's definitely our mission, that we don't want this whole idea that sustainable products have to be more expensive should be a misnomer. And that's the effort that we work on, that price should not be a constraint, because it's always price in isolation means nothing. It's all in comparison. So obviously the customer, if there was no other product, there would be no benchmark. But today they have a product, and they will ensure that the performance and the pricing is as near to that current substrate as possible. And hence the idea, like Ramji and the team, that they are doing is to focus on products where the acceptability is relatively easier, because the percentage in terms of the price of packaging is relatively lower for them. So they are happy to, the first commercial run that we are doing now, the customer is totally happy with the price right now. They like, in terms of the cost of the product and cost of packaging, it doesn't matter even if we are 10% higher. But that said, at scale, that would not be the case. And like our effort would be, as we go to scale, there are numerous innovations that we are doing, including setting up of a biomaterial product, the product we are using as a barrier within our compound by the supplier company. So, so there are things like that also that we are working on.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last question. We'll take the last question now from Mr. Yatin.
Yeah, thank you. So my question is that we can see that top line is mainly driven by paper products, but in terms of module products, we see a more of a stagnant, or I can say maybe no growth quarter on quarter for the last 3-4 quarters. So any specific reasons we have for that, or what step to increase our sales in that area? I believe that's where food services product is being used, right? Just correct me if wrong.
So, Satish, I think you've said it, but I think you may have to repeat it.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so my question is that in terms of top line, I believe 90% of revenue is only, right? In terms of module product, I can see that there's no growth from last 3-4 quarters. So just wanted to know any steps we are taking as a company to get their sales and increase in the future.
As I said, the demand has not been a concern for us, right? So our sales team has been fantastic, and more importantly, I don't think anybody in India, even overseas, has a work like what over the last 5-6 years. So the demand for our product continues to grow. However, the revenue is being restricted by the supply, right? Okay. And rightfully, we are going out and signing up contract manufacturing units. This also keeps us asset light, right? As I mentioned, the goal is to hit from the current 210 to about 400 over the next 4 or 5 months, and that is going to increase the revenue, hopefully to double of what we have today. And in addition to that, we're also looking at increasing the total number of offerings in the basket. So we will have a full basket of offerings. That's what the team is working on.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Wait, can we take one more question?
We can, and I think there's been some problem with the chat. So could you just inform the people and apologize from our side?
Yes. Yeah, apologies. There is the chat option is not available. So we'll take the last question from Mr. Jagmohan. You can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you, Pranay. One of my question already got answered. My question is the ethanol manufacturing industry, is that affecting or will affect the source material bagasse in future?
I don't see that as a huge effect. So just so that you know, from an investor's standpoint, ethanol is not bagasse is not directly used in ethanol production. All that happens is that the sugar companies may burn a little more bagasse because additional heat is required for producing ethanol. But that said, bagasse is still left over. There's a lot of bagasse available in Brazil, for example, that converts straight from sugarcane juice to ethanol. They don't even convert to sugar. So all their material is converted straight to ethanol. In India as well, our main suppliers have started one plant where they are converting straight juice to ethanol. And even there, they have bagasse available. So at least for now, we don't see any significant strain. If that happens, we look at going backwards and start making something from sugarcane as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. So thank you for your questions, and apologies once again from our side for not being available on chat. Thank you.
Thank you all, and thank you for all your trust and support and the amazing movement in the market and the share price that you provided Pakka with. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.